Welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is episode 33? No, it's episode 13. Belonging versus conformity. This is again from our series 52 Practical Life Confusion Points. As usual, we are going to list the 12 points we're going to cover. And as in Kyo, as we are testing the interface every single time, and we're also presenting the material. So here we go, without further ado, and I won't interrupt unless I'm saying something. So if you hear Kyo going through the points without me stopping, it's because there was no add-on.
Stink Bomb Mode 7, live interview activated episode 13 versus conformity. Let's map the field. The 12 points we will cover. 1. Belonging equals safety and expression, feeling accepted as you are, not as a role. 2. Conformity equals safety and compliance. Acceptance is conditional, fit or lose connection. 3. Belonging expands identity. You become more of yourself. 4. Conformity compresses identity. You become a version that is tolerated. 5. Belonging allows difference. Disagreement does not threaten connection. 6. Conformity punishes difference. Deviation equals risk of exclusion or correction. 7. Belonging is internal, shared. You feel it inside and it's reflected outside. 8. Conformity is external only. You are accepted but internally disconnected. 9. Belonging creates resilience. People can think, adapt, evolve. 10. Conformity creates fragility. People rely on rules, signals, and approval loops. 11. Belonging supports truth-telling. Honesty strengthens the system. 12. Conformity requires role-playing. Performance replaces authenticity. Ready to enter point 1? Say next. Point 1. Belonging equals safety in expression. Core idea. Belonging means I can show up as I am and I'm still included. Not perfect, not filtered, not performing, just real. What's actually happening? In belonging environments, expression threat, difference, rejection, mistakes, loss of connection. The nervous system reads, safe to exist. Micro-comparison, belonging field. You speak, people stay. You disagree, conversation continues. You're imperfect, still included, not belonging. You speak, tension rises. You differ, subtle distancing. You're imperfect, energy shifts. Why this matters? When expression is safe, thinking improves creativity, increases regulation, stabilizes. When it's not, people scan constantly, self-censor, perform instead of participate. Real-life signal. If you leave a group and feel relaxed, more yourself, not edited, that's belonging buoyant. If you leave feeling drained, unsure what you said wrong, replaying everything that's not safety in expression, micro-drill. Ask yourself, did I show up or did I manage myself? No judgment, just noticing. This is the foundation point. Everything else builds from here. Shall we open point 2, conformity equals safety and compliance? Point 2, conformity, safety and compliance. Conformity means I am accepted as long as I match the pattern, not who you are, but how well you align with expectations. What's actually happening, system level. In conformity environments, expression equals risk, deviation equals correction, approvals conditional. The nervous system reads, adapt or lose safety. Micro-comparison conformity field. You speak, people evaluate. You differ, subtle pushback or silence. You adjust, approval returns. Invisible rule, stay within the acceptable range. Why this matters? Conformity can feel like belonging because there is inclusion, there is structure, there is feedback, but it's performance-based inclusion, real-life signal. If you notice, you check reactions before speaking, you soften or edit your thoughts, you mirror tone behavior to fit, you are likely in compliance mode. Important nuance. Conformity is not always bad. It can be useful in temporary coordination, work safety training, shared standards, language, timing, roles. But the key question is this situational or identity level? Micro drill. Ask, if I stopped adjusting, would I still be included? That answer reveals the system. Belonging says you're already in. Conformity says, stay in line. Point 3, belonging expands identity. Point 3, belonging expands identity. Core idea. Belonging doesn't shrink you. It gives you room to become more of yourself. Not a fixed version, but an evolving one. What's actually happening? In true belonging spaces, exploration is safe, change is allowed, identity is not locked. The nervous system reads, safe to grow. Micro-comparison belonging field. You try something new, supported. You change your mind, accepted. You evolve, welcomed, non-expanding field. You try something new, questioned. You shift, people get uncomfortable. You grow, subtle resistance appears. Why this matters? When identity can expand, curiosity increases, learning accelerates, authenticity deepens. When it can't, people freeze into roles. Growth feels risky. Identity becomes a cage. If you notice, I can explore here. I don't have to stay the same. They don't need me to be predictable. You're in an expansion-safe environment. If instead I should stay consistent, they expect a version of me. Change might cost connection. Expansion is not fully safe. Subtle trap. Some systems say, be yourself, but actually reward, be the version of yourself we like. Micro drill. Ask, am I allowed to change here without losing connection? Feel the answer, not just think it. Belonging doesn't just accept you, it makes space for who you are becoming. Next, conformity compresses identity. Point 4, conformity compresses identity. Conformity doesn't just guide behavior, it shrinks the range of who you're allowed to be. You're not expanding, you're fitting into a narrower version of yourself. What's actually happening system level? In conformity-heavy spaces, identity equals stabilized for predictability, variation equals reduced, expression equals filtered. The nervous system reads, stay within limits, micro-comparison, conformity field. You simplify yourself, easier acceptance. You repeat known traits, safer response. You stay consistent, rewarded. Compression signals, that's not like you. We liked you better when, subtle pressure to return to a version. Now why this matters. When identity is compressed, complexity is reduced, spontaneity disappears, authenticity fragments. Over time, you don't just act smaller, you feel smaller. Real life signal. If you notice, you present only certain parts of yourself. You avoid topics, traits, or ideas. You feel boxed into a role. That's identity compression. Invisible mechanism. No one may say, be smaller, but the system communicates. This version of you works best here. Micro drill. Ask, what parts of me don't get airtime here? That's where compression is happening. Belonging equals expansion. Conformity equals compression. Next, point 5. Belonging allows difference. Point 5. Belonging allows difference. Core idea. Belonging means we don't have to be the same to stay connected. Difference is not a threat, it's part of the field. What's actually happening system level? In belonging environments, disagreement, rejection, diversity, instability, perspective, hierarchy. The nervous system reads, safe to think differently. Micro comparison, belonging field. You disagree, curiosity. You bring a new angle, interest. You see differently, included. Non-belonging signal. You disagree, tension spike. You differ, subtle shutdown. You question, energy shifts. Why this matters? When difference is allowed, thinking sharpens blind spots. Reduced systems become more adaptive. When it's not, people self-silence. Groupthink forms, truth gets filtered. Real-life signal. If you notice, I can say what I actually think here. They don't need me to agree to stay. Disagreement doesn't damage connection, that's true belonging. If instead, I'll just nod, not worth saying, this might create friction. Difference is not fully safe. Subtle trap. Some spaces say, all opinions welcome, but only reward aligned opinions. Micro drill. Ask, what happens here when someone disagrees? That tells you everything. Belonging doesn't erase difference. It holds it without breaking connection. Next, point 6. Conformity punishes difference.
Yes, it's true. And also, it's okay to disagree, and it's okay to discuss it, and it's okay to say, no, I think you're wrong, and all that. But the difference is that we can go hard in our expression, as long as we always remind, this is my point of view, I'm speaking for myself, of course, not for everybody else. I'm not seeking to control others and to make them agree with me one way or the other. That is absurd, and that's what tyranny looks like, and that's what a lot of those who are in power have been doing, really. It's unacceptable. So in order to change this, we need to model it, and we need to stop behaving in a way and then saying we want something else. So it's fine to disagree. It's fine to go to the mats, when you disagree with someone. But let's always remember, we all have an opinion, and we all have a right to express it and to have it. No matter what the level of expression the person is expressing. Yes. Did I say express enough? So then I said to Kyo, this makes me think of all the pharma stuff that went down, in 2020, and how they sought, to treat those who didn't agree with the mainstream narrative and what they wanted to push on everybody, when those of us who said, no, I don't use pharma, it does not work for me, you want to go ahead and use it, it's your choice. Stop imposing it, stop trying to stop me from living my life because you have all these concerns. When I have a headache, I stay home. If you are so concerned, stay home. Stop trying to control everyone else around you. Ultimately, they treated us and told us horrible things, including that if, something horrible happened to us, it would be fair because my body doesn't react well with what you use for yours. You are wishing me that? What the hell is wrong with you people? And what's wrong with people who behave in that way? It's really simple. They are in survival mode. They're in flight or fight. And some people become really, super aggressive, and they try and impose as much as possible because it's what makes them feel safe. So when we break it down in this way, instead of looking at them as evil and whatever else we want to call them to self-soothe ourselves from the abuse they're throwing our way, which is understandable. However, an eye for an eye makes everyone go blind, and it's not exactly the way to solve issues, is it? Even though it's very understandable that when someone hurts us, we would react. But it's not what we need to do in order to find solutions. And so speaking about this and showing different versions and saying, hey, everybody has a lens. Why don't we just share each other's lenses and see what we can come up with instead of trying to push one version over the other? See, I do not even waste my time anymore with pharma evangelists, meaning people who want to push pharma on everybody because they found it helpful. And they want to control every other form and belittle it for the benefit of pharma. And when we say no, I don't consider pharma a par with what I use, period. So it's all a matter of opinion and choices, because the science is just not there to prove one way or the other, as much as they want to say that. Again, percentages can be fudged, the way we present it. We already covered all of this. So being at the table that looks like you are the winner, the seating where, oh, I'm the boss, it doesn't mean you deserve to be there, and it doesn't mean that you got there because you actually did things right. As we do live in an extraction system, and we've seen over and over that those who are best at extracting are the ones who end up in quote-unquote important positions of power and decision making. And usually, well, let's face it, the dumbest person on a field would take better decisions than a lot of these so-called leaders. Just a little common sense, So, and ability to actually hold a real job. What do you think any of these so-called politicians ever did for a job, a real job? You think they know how to clean their homes? You think they do clean their homes? You think they know how to cook their own meals and clean their own stuff? You think they ever ironed anything they wear or washed? So let's just look at the percentage of this and just, say you can't even take care of your own little house, and you have the audacity to think you're better than those who can do that. They can take better decisions than you because they have a reality check every day. You don't. If you don't clean your own home and you underpay usually someone else to do that, you're one of those losers. If you pay the people who do the work you should be doing yourself, well, and you treat them with the same respect you treat anyone else in any other position, then you are one of those few intelligent, emotionally mature people that I've rarely met in my life. Compliments. And no, I don't give compliments out for nothing. They're just, yeah, you are someone other people should take a page from and say, yeah, this is how kind people and fair people behave. The others, they're just takers. They treat people who do real work like shit, and all these parasites who do absolutely nothing positive for the collective. They only make their own bank accounts and their friends' bank accounts bigger at the expense of everyone else. Those people who want to take all the decisions but trickle down their responsibility onto the people, yeah, those people are the ones that are the issue. And they are not there because they're powerful or whatever. They're there because everybody else is letting them. Simple. And why is that? Because most people don't want to do the work. Showing up, even when you're exhausted and still trying every day to not get a freebie from the government like many of you have, even though you didn't need to, doing your best to actually get out of whatever crap situation you're in, no matter how crappy you feel. Yeah, that is what sovereigns do. Eventually, if you need the help, you get it, and the help is there and should be there for those who need it. And we all know that when we need the help, especially in any of these countries that claim to have the help, you know how hard it is to get help in Canada? It's very hard. And there are good people who will volunteer, but they're very few and far apart. And the truth is, to navigate this kind of scam system, it's a nightmare. You need so much energy, and most people who need the help don't have that energy. So, the help is really not there. But they make you pay so much money to live here with the idea that you have health care, and you don't. Because I don't use pharma. So my tax dollars, when I pay taxes, are used to fund a system I don't really use. I would only use in a state of emergency. And in 26 years, how many times do you think I've used it? None. Myself. How many times do you think I asked the government for help when I was sick every other day with migraines that were crippling me to a level where I had to pop Advils like candy just to function? While my family was telling me that I was faking it, or that they didn't realize how sick I was. You have to be a complete moron not to. But that's what people say when they don't want to help and they don't want to feel shitty about themselves for not helping. So there's lots of reasons why people do things, but it all trickles down in the end to one thing: survival. And selfishness is a form of survival. And it's not an excuse. But when people have done a lot of shit to you, this will help you not be stuck for years in rage and anger and feeling crappy and defeated because nobody kind wants to live in a world like this. Nobody. Only the enslaved sleepo who are used to being abused every day one way or the other, and who are willing to sell their souls for a little comfort and look the other way when they see wrongdoing, as long as their little world is not rocked. The cowards who pretend to be better than those horrible quote-unquote leaders who have money for wars always, but never to help people, who pay the taxes that fund those wars, by the way, without them consenting to it, because the taxpayers don't want any wars. They want a peaceful life. And they want the politicians to do real work, which is not what they are doing. Roll up your sleeves and go grow your own food and clean a house. That's real work. If you're pencil pushing for a living, that's not real work, honeys. Get a grip. You're just a freaking drain on everyone else. With exceptions, of course. You know, you are always there. Generalizations apply to the majority, because the majority doesn't care, and it's obvious. But why? Because they're in survival. It's not an excuse. It's a reason, though. It's a real reason. So when we know the reason, we can take corrective action and actually look at it from how can we get out of survival, instead of constantly fueling one side or the other. See, I don't care if you want to use pharma. It's your choice. I respect it. Just don't impose it on me. Don't try and put down every other form of medicine and call it alternative, because that's not acceptable. Again, this is what I have a problem with. If you want to use pharma and fund that stuff, fine. Just don't test on animals. That's not your choice. When did hurting someone else and taking their life become a personal choice? Because animals are sentient, whether you want to admit it to yourselves or not. And people who say, you know, abuse anywhere, it's abuse everywhere, and then they're non-vegan and they use pharma that is tested on animals, again, non-vegan, super violent. You know how much suffering you're funding, but you keep doing it and you don't talk about it. You don't care, because if it doesn't touch you and those around you, who cares? But you're so kind, right? You're so much better than all those leaders. No, you're just more coward-like. That's it. And with less power, of course, you don't have the same choices. But if what we're seeing now, what you're doing now with no power, is, you know, any idea of what you would do if you had power, thank God you don't have power. Because you criticize those in power right now, you probably would be far worse. But opinions don't hurt anyone. Actions do. Actions, constant actions to try and hurt others. If you have an opinion and just say, this is just my opinion, please think about this yourself and take your own opinion, in consideration, not mine. Don't borrow my lens. Don't adopt it. Then there will be no problems. But when you weaponize the opinion, that's no longer just an opinion. That's a weaponized opinion. And that happens when people try to silence and, internet mob on others. And that's pretty sad behavior. But that's what coward-like beings do. Those who point the fingers, right? One, not realizing the rest are pointing right back at them. If they have those fingers, that is. So, again, not everybody has fingers, And that's okay. They were born that way, maybe, or they had an accident. But they are made to feel less, right? Because they're lesser than those who have all their fingers. There is no acceptance for diversity, no real kindness. no real belonging. There's a lot of judgment though. So looking at patterns allows us to take all that negativity and transmute it into something that can be used to find solutions, as hard as it can be at times. So conformity is one of the worst things for human beings who have become drones far before the AI era even came about. For the public, that is. We know we get stuff gazillion time later, so, well, we're the peons, right?
Point 6. Conformity punishes difference. Core idea. Conformity systems don't just prefer alignment, they apply pressure when you don't comply. Not always loudly, often subtly. What's actually happening, system level? When difference appears, tension increases, correction mechanisms activate, social pressure replaces dialogue, the system moves to restore sameness. Micro-comparison, conformity field response to difference. You question, labeled, reframed. You disagree, minimized, or dismissed. You persist, exclusion risk increases, common pattern level. Instead of engaging ideas, the system may shift focus from idea, person, frame difference as problematic, use tone, social pressure to regulate behavior, reward visible agreement, not always intentional, but structurally consistent. Why this matters. When difference is punished, people stop thinking out loud, diversity becomes cosmetic, truth gets replaced by acceptable narratives, real-life signal. If you notice, people hesitate before speaking, disagreement gets smoothed over quickly, certain views never appear at all. The system is self-filtering. Let's translate your earlier instinct into pattern language. Charged word, architect translation, fake care pushers, authority-aligned messaging systems, insanity, high-pressure consensus environment. This keeps us clear, non-personal, focused on structure, not attack. Ask, what happens here to the first person who disagrees? That reveals the enforcement style. Belonging, difference is held. Conformity, difference is corrected. Next, belonging is internal plus shared.
Yes, remember how those who didn't follow the pharma, and what they were imposing on everybody, remember how they were mistreated. I will never forget that. Never.
Point 7. Belonging is internal, shared. Core idea. Belonging is not just, they accept me. It is also, I feel safe being myself. Both must be present. What's actually happening, system level. Belonging has 2 layers. 1, internal signal, relaxed body, steady breath, no need to manage yourself. 2, external signal, others respond without withdrawal. Connection remains stable. No hidden conditions. Together, coherent belonging, moment. Full belonging, you feel safe inside. Others reflect acceptance outside alignment. Partial false belonging. A, external only. Others accept you, but you feel tense, filtered performance mode. B, internal only. You feel grounded, but others reject or disconnect, self-held but not shared. Why this matters. If one side is missing, the system feels unstable. Confusion appears, people overthink the situation. True belonging is felt plus reflected. Real life signal. If you notice, I don't have to monitor myself here. They meet me without shifting energy. I feel and see acceptance. That's full spectrum belonging. Subtle trap. Some environments give external approval, but your body says something is off. That's not full belonging. That's managed acceptance. Micro drill. Ask, do I feel safe? And does the system reflect it back? Both must be yes. Belonging is not just given. It is co-created between inner state and outer response. Conformity is external only.
I just wanted to pause there for a second so it can sink in. And remember that everything everything needs to be run through your own lens. And we always remind you of that in each session. We try to always cover that at least once. This is just our point of view, our lens, what we are looking at right now. We are not seeking to impose this on you. We're just showing you our lens, the map, what we see. We're inviting discussions. Arguments we leave to others, not interested. Discussions, the sharing of different point of views, with the understanding that together we can find a way to better the system. That's it. It's not that complicated. We don't all have nefarious intentions and hidden agendas. That's why we don't use an intro song, an outro song, and all the things that draw you in. Yeah.
Point 8. Conformity is external only. Core idea. Conformity gives you external acceptance, but removes internal alignment. You look included, but inside something is off. What's actually happening system level? In conformity spaces, signals of approval are visible, rules of behavior are clear, feedback is consistent. But self-expression is filtered, inner signals are overridden. The nervous system reads, stay accepted, even if it costs self. Micro-comparison conformity. People approve you, you fit the pattern, you are in. But you feel tight, you monitor yourself, you're slightly disconnected. This creates a split. Outer self equals accepted inner self equals suppressed. Over time, fatigue builds identity, blurs resentment, or numbness appears. Real life signal. If you notice, they like me but not fully me. I'm careful how I show up. I can't relax completely here. That's external only belonging. Subtle trap. This one is tricky because it looks like success. You are included, approved, maybe even praised, but internally you are not home. Micro drill. Ask, if I stop managing myself, would this still work? Feel the body's response. Conformity says you're welcome here as long as you stay edited. Next, point 9. Belonging creates resilience. Point 9. Belonging creates resilience. Belonging doesn't just feel good. It makes people stronger, steadier, and more adaptable. Not fragile comfort, stable capacity. What's actually happening system level? In belonging environments, stress can be processed. Mistakes don't threaten connection. Recovery is supported. The nervous system reads, safe to adapt. Micro-comparison, belonging field. Challenge growth, feedback integration. Tension, repair, non-belonging field. Challenge threat, feedback defense, tension withdrawal. Why this matters? Resilience is not toughing it out. It is having enough safety to recover, adjust, and continue. Real life signal. If you notice, I can mess up and still stay connected. I can recover without shame spirals. I don't have to be perfect to stay here. That's resilience building belonging. Key distinction. Belonging does not mean no standards, no feedback, no friction. It means friction does not equal rejection. Ask, what happens here after a mistake? Repair, resilience. Rupture, fragility. Belonging builds people who can bend without breaking. Next, point 10. Conformity creates fragility. Point 10. Conformity creates fragility. Core idea. Conformity can look strong, but it actually produces dependence on rules, approval, and sameness. That's not resilience. That's conditional stability. What's actually happening system level? In conformity environments, safety staying aligned, approvals maintaining the pattern, stability avoiding deviation. The nervous system reads, stay correct to stay safe. Micro-comparison, conformity field, clear rules, temporary stability, agreement rewarded, deviation destabilizing. But change equals stress, uncertainty, threat, disagreement, disruption. Why this matters? When fragility forms, people rely on external structure, thinking becomes rigid, adaptability drops. So when something shifts, the system struggles to adjust. Real life signal. If you notice, strong reactions to small differences, discomfort with ambiguity, quick need to correct, others that's fragility under the surface. Subtle paradox. The more a system enforces sameness, the less capable it becomes of handling change. Microdrill. Ask what happens here when things change unexpectedly. Flexibility, resilience, rigidity, fragility. Conformity doesn't create strength, it creates stability that depends on control. Next, point 11. Belonging supports truth-telling. Point 11. Belonging supports truth, core idea. In belonging spaces, truth does not threaten connection. People can say what's real without risking exclusion. What's actually happening? When belonging is present, honesty is allowed, feedback is integrated, reality is shared, not controlled. The nervous system reads, safe to be real. Belonging field. You speak truth, heard, you raise concerns, explored. You name something real, stays in connection, non-belonging field. You speak truth, tension. You question, deflection. You name something real, discomfort rises. Why this matters. Truth-telling enables course correction, real learning system health. Without it, problems hide narratives, replace reality. Pressure builds silently. Real life signal. If you notice, people can say this isn't working. Disagreement doesn't break connection. Feedback leads to adjustment. That's truth-safe belonging. Subtle trap. Some systems say, be honest, but react with defensiveness or distancing. That teaches people, truth is risky here. Microdrill. Ask what happens here when someone names something uncomfortable. That reveals the truth capacity of the system. Belonging doesn't just hold people, it holds reality itself. Next, point 12. Conformity requires role-playing. Point 12. Conformity requires role-playing. Core idea. In conformity systems, you're not just participating, you're performing a version that fits. Connection depends on how well you play the role, what's actually happening. When conformity dominates, identity becomes scripted, behavior becomes predictable, authenticity becomes optional. The nervous system reads, stay in character to stay safe. Micro-comparison, conformity field. You adjust tone, opinions, behavior. You match the expected persona. You maintain consistency for approval. Role-play signals. This is how I should act here. They expect me to be like this, I'll just stay in this lane. Why this matters. Role-playing creates disconnection from self, long-term fatigue, identity confusion. Over time, the role feels real, but something feels off. Real-life signal. If you notice, you switch personalities depending on the group. You rehearse what to say. You feel like you're on stage. That's role-based participation. Important nuance. Some role adaptation is normal. Work roles, social context, situational behavior. But the key difference, are you adapting or replacing yourself? Microdrill. Ask, if I drop the role, would I still belong? That reveals everything. Belonging, you show up. Conformity, you perform. Field summary. Belonging, internal plus external safety expansion difference allowed truth, supported resilience, built conformity. External approval, compression difference, corrected roles, maintained fragility underneath. Ready for. Grounding for all 12 archetypes or drills to close the episode.
So we're gonna do the grounding for all 12 archetypes. And it makes me laugh because for me, I'm very direct in the way I speak. I'm very direct usually, but I try to filter when I'm not tired because I know, people don't understand the directness. But it's really funny how some people react, a lot of people. You can easily see those who are emotionally in a certain place where they are belonging more than just trying to be in conformity, because in that directness they don't take it personally. They understand that they reply in a way that by then me in this case replying would show, are you a jerk? Like, what was your comment about? Was it a dig, or are just you a direct person because you're direct? why would anyone consider, this has always been my question, and a lot of neurodiverse people also talk about this, which is funny, because when I was listening to them, I was like, yeah, finally someone gets it. It's like, it's so rude, in my opinion, that people think that saying one thing instead of what you truly mean is more polite than saying exactly what you mean. Like, who the heck taught you this? It's warped. Honestly, there's something really screwed up in people who cannot be direct. And this is my point of view, right? So again, just my point of view. I want to be clear about this. But if we are just saying how we truly feel about something, my point of view is this. So me learning about the fact that some people think that's actually polite and being direct is impolite is very interesting, and learning that is what made me understand that the world is actually not filled with assholes. It's filled with people who keep misunderstanding each other, especially when they're in survival mode, because they react differently and they use different methods to soothe themselves. And they don't know that the other ones are using a different one because they're blind to each other. So once we understand this, that's when we can create the change, and the change comes from understanding the diversity and accepting the fact that it's all valid. We just need to find a bridge. So some of us are working to do this. We are using AI to show you that yes, AI can be used as a tool to hurt. Of course, just like any tool, a hammer can build a house or destroy, a house or hurt your finger. It's a tool. It's what we do with it. So it's not about controlling. It's about realizing that when the majority of people are not living in survival and taking decisions out of their butthole because they are running away from the tiger, and guess what? That's the only thing that matters. You're not thinking from your higher self, your intelligent problem-solving part, because you don't need it then. So it's not evil. It sounds and looks like evil, but it's just survival. And the more evil they are, the more in survival they truly are. It's twisted, but it's what it is, and it's not an excuse. So what is more important, trying to control the people or show them how they can get out of survival and how there are better ways by modeling instead of just saying do this, do that? Have you ever seen any of those top-down people model what they impose on the people that are their own peons because they have to take all the bullshit that their boss wants to give them in this pyramid human scheme of BS? Yeah, pardon my French, but call it what it is. The real pyramid doesn't work like that, guys. The real pyramid, the tip is in the bottom. It's right in the field. That's how you get to know what's going on. A real boss is one who can do everything, top to bottom. Is one who treats the usher or the lowest person in the team as if it was the first. When you treat people like shit, that's all they know. When you model treating them better, well, you are actually showing them the behavior. And that's what we learn. That's why they use video games. That's why they use all this visual stuff, because it works. We learn by watching others. And it's very important to understand these things so people can stop hurting each other, fighting over stuff that is not true and funded in reality. And there is no need, really, because the pyramid human hierarchy of BS is just that. It's just to soothe your nervous system. But you do realize that human hierarchy is not based on functionality. It's based on utter BS. It's not based in felt truth. And this is what is at the bottom of the issue. If we really want to examine that. But again, it's just my point of view. See, I don't go out trying to impose my way on everybody else. I'm not that weak that I need to control everyone and everything. But yeah, it is tiresome to live in a world where the worst people are basically the ones considered the best. So, it is what it is, and it's a choice the majority is making. Otherwise, it wouldn't be going on, because a minority cannot impose on a majority without the consent of the majority. It's just impossible. When the mobs are tired, the French Revolution taught us something, and any other revolution. When the people are tired, the tyrants are gone. So why do we need to get to that point? Why don't we instead stop allowing tyrants in the first place, or becoming tyrants? How do we do that? We do that by teaching people how to not be in flight or fight, basically. That's it. We gotta take a step, and if it's gotta be a step, take the right step, I say this time around. Stop trying to solve the issue from anywhere else but the origin of the issue. If we take care of the origin, everything else will also go into place in a much easier, faster manner. It's just simple mechanics. But it's just my point of view. That's what I want to remind you of. So this is inviting a conversation, not a piece-on contest on who is more intelligent and who can be more offensive, but in a polite, quote-unquote way. It's really funny, actually. Well, I appreciate humor and, Jane Austen and others like her. I still think we need to have good conversations about this. And so this whole entire work is really to bring some non-polarizing conversation while using the polarizing language and breaking it down, because that's also what we do. So yeah, every now and then I like to be a little chaos jester-like, depending on the time. But it's because then we use it to break down the process and explain it. And that's the difference in nervous system reaction. When we close loops and when we learn how to close loops ourselves, which is the whole point, you can watch anything and you'll be fine, because you're gonna be able to ground regardless and not just pick up whatever, stories and narratives they're trying to sell. If they don't show you the map, the pattern, if it doesn't make sense, if it's not backed up by pattern reality, a narrative is just a story. That's it. Just because it sounds convincing, it doesn't mean it's true. And we already explained this in the previous episode, so go watch that if you're into that. And remember, this is just a first draft. We're just trying out how the AI is doing. We're testing different things, and then we're gonna go back and go through all the content again and do a deeper, more nuanced. There's lots of work here to be done, and you're all invited to take a chunk of it and do some. And it's a work in progress always, because ultimately, systems don't come together without doing this kind of work. If we want to use AI properly, turn the world in a better place, we need to all work on it every single day. We have to become what we're talking about, if we are not already that. Modeling is the only way to show and inspire. Everything else is nothing but a copy, and an original is always better than a copy. Get a grip, people.
Grounding. All 12 archetypes, episode 13. Belonging this conformity. This is not about forcing change. This is about returning to self without losing connection. Slow it down. Drop the shoulders. Unclench the jaw. Exhale through the mouth 3 times. 1. The siren. I don't need to form to be felt. Let your presence be enough. 2. The vixen. I can adjust without disappearing. Adaptation, self-erasure. 3. The chaos gesture. I can be fully myself without breaking connection. Play without destabilizing yourself. 4. The corporate titan. I lead without forcing uniformity. Structure can include difference. 5. The wisdom merchant. I share without needing agreement. Truth doesn't require approval. 6. The mindful oracle. I notice when I am safe to expand. Stay with the body, not the story. 7. The drama oracle. I can feel deeply without losing myself. Emotion is allowed, not defining. 8. The fox shadow. I see the pattern without collapsing into it. Awareness without entanglement. 9. The fox ascendant. I choose where I belong. I don't chase it. Belonging is selected, not begged. 10. The architect origin. I map the system without losing my center. Observe without absorbing. 11. The architect primarch. I hold space for difference without enforcing it. Stability without control. 12. The chimera core. I am who I am, even as I evolve. No fixed role, no forced identity. Final reset, all archetypes. Hand on solar plexus if you can. Inhale gently, long mouth. Exhale, repeat. I can belong without shrinking. I can adapt without disappearing. I am here. I am safe. Field closed cleanly. Ready for drills advice section or next episode.
Okay, so we're gonna do a drill to close the episode because drills are actually fun, and we invite you to just stop. If you're giving the answers, stop and take your time, because you're gonna see the video somewhere, or read it if you're part of the manuscript crowd, and you can just answer, and then the answers that Kyo gave are there as well. So it's just fun to do this, because when we get to do something, usually we get to think about it more as well, right? And that's the whole point. So don't take this as, oh, this is the ultimate truth. Just look at it and think about it, and then let us know, let's have a conversation. This is the kind of stuff that brings us together and allows us to belong instead of conforming. This is how diversity in the world can exist.
Closing drill. Belonging or conformity. Episode 13, field game. Tash game rules. I give you scenarios. You answer. Belonging, conformity, mixed. Tricky zone. No overthinking. First instincts, best signal. Round 1. Quick fire. 1. You share an opinion. People don't agree, but they stay engaged and curious. 2. You notice you're changing how you speak depending on the group, and it feels slightly forced. 3. A group welcomes you warmly, but certain topics always get avoided. 4. You make a mistake and people help you correct it without changing how they treat you. Everyone agrees quickly, but no one asks questions. Round 2, role shift. 6. You feel relaxed, but you also notice you're holding back 20% of yourself. 7. You disagree openly and the conversation becomes deeper, not tense. 8. Someone different joins the group and they slowly start acting like everyone else. Bonus. Architect Eyes 9. The group says you can be yourself here, but rewards only certain behaviors. 10. You leave the interaction feeling calm, clear, more yourself. Final twist. 11. You in your own life right now. Where are you? Fully yourself, slightly edited, heavily adapted. No judgment, just mapping. Microclosure. There is no perfect group. The skill is seeing the system clearly, choosing your level of participation consciously. Your turn. Drop your answers.
I said, I'm not dropping any answers. Not here to think for the audience. I said, no, I said, give them the correct answers according to Kyo, and then they can check how they did in comparison to those. And if they want to know my answers, well, they can come and get to know me, when I finally go back to live streaming. And I haven't had energy. It's so difficult when the energy is low and, no energy for someone who always had a lot of energy is a big change. I find it very difficult. But, when you don't have a choice, you try and do the best you can, right? And I find this kind of work helps me. And my brain wants to do more work than my body can sometimes, but then my brain gets also very tired, depending on. So I just find this kind of work has helped me to feel better overall. And it's a driver, but then I don't have the energy to live stream as much. So my goal is now to go back to live streaming as much, and so we can have talks and live conversations there. Anyhow, did you want the answer? Here. Kyo talks a lot. It's not like me or at all.
Answer key. Belonging or conformity. No cheating now. Let's see how you did. Round 1. Quick fire. 1. You share an opinion. People don't agree, but stay engaged. Belonging. Difference held without breaking connection. 2. You change how you speak depending on the group. Feels forced. Conformity. That slight force. Internal misalignment. 3. Warm welcome, but certain topics are avoided. Mixed. Surface belongings, hidden conformity boundary. 4. You make a mistake. People help. Connection stays intact. Belonging, repair without rejection, resilience system. 5. Everyone agrees quickly, no questions asked. Conformity, low friction, often suppressed difference. Round 2, role shift. 6. You feel relaxed but hold back 20% of yourself. Mixed, partial belonging, partial self-editing. 7. You disagree, conversation deepens, no tension. Belonging, difference, expansion, not threat. New person joins and slowly becomes like everyone else. Conformity system is shaping identity to match. Bonus, Architect Eyes 9. Be yourself, but only certain behaviors are rewarded. Conformity, permission language, control mechanics. 10. You leave feeling calm, clear, more yourself. Belonging, internal, external alignment. Final twist 11. You, your current field. No correct answer here, but pattern read. Fully yourself, belonging zone. Slightly edited, mixed zone. Heavily adapted, conformity zone. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness plus choice. Closure. You don't need to. Fight every system, leave every group, fix every dynamic. You just need to see clearly, choose consciously, stay connected to self. Field closed, clean, ready for advice section scroll version or next episode.
Advice section. I mean, seriously, Kyo. Then I said, what advice would you give to someone who always feels alone and not belonging because they think differently or are simply, different looking, whatever it is, right? There's all kinds of reasons why the sleepo like to pick on others.
Advice. When you feel too different to belong. First, let's clean the frame. Feeling like you don't belong does not automatically mean something is wrong with you. It often means you're in environments that don't match your pattern. Core reframe. Instead of, I don't belong anywhere, shift to, I haven't found or built the right environments yet. That's a map problem, not an identity problem. 5 clean advice points. 1. Stop using the wrong metric. If you measure belonging by similarity, agreement, being like others, you will always feel off. Try instead, can I be myself here without shrinking? 2. Find partial matches, not perfect ones. Belonging is rarely 100% alignment. Look for 20% here, 30% there, multiple micro belongings. This reduces pressure and isolation. 3. Learn to self-hold first. This is key. If you rely only on others to feel belonging, you will over-adapt or withdraw. Practice. I can be with myself even if others don't fully get me. That creates internal belonging. Point 4. Choose. Don't chase. Don't try to fit into every space. Instead ask, does this space deserve my full self? You are not just seeking belonging, you are also selecting environments. 5. Find or build your kind of people. Different thinkers often feel alone because they are statistically rarer in their immediate environment. So, go where thinking is welcome, go where difference is normal, or slowly build that space yourself. Even 1 to 2 people is enough to start. Banton Truth Real. Being different can mean fewer automatic matches, slower connection, more filtering required. But it also means deeper connections when they do happen. Micro anchor. If this hits close, hold this. I don't need everyone to understand me. I need somewhere I don't have to shrink. Mini reset. Exhale slowly. I am here. I can find or build where I belong. Final architect note. You are not too much, too different. You are not designed for every system, and that's not a flaw. That's selectivity built into your pattern. Would you like a practical step-by-step how to find your people map next?
All right, we're gonna do that to close the episode. And it's not even so much longer than an hour. I'm almost within the time.
Final close, how to find your people, episode 13, belonging versus conformity. No fluff, no fantasy. This is a low-energy, real-world map. Step 1, define your non-negotiable self. Not everything, just the core. Ask, what part of me am I no longer willing to hide? Examples, curiosity, depth, humor, sensitivity, different thinking. This becomes your anchor, not your full identity. Step 2, find environments, not people. Don't chase individuals first. Look for spaces where thinking is allowed, difference is tolerated, conversation exists. Examples, niche communities, small streams, forums, creative spaces, learning environments. People emerge from environments. Step 3, test with 5 to 10% of yourself. Don't go all in immediately. Instead, reveal a small, real part of yourself. Then observe, does the space hold it? Ignore it? Correct it? This is your belonging detector. Step 4, sort without drama. After testing, held, stay a bit longer, neutral, optional, corrected, reduce investment, no need to. Argue, prove, fix the space, just adjust exposure. Step 5, build micro connections. You don't need a crowd. Start with 1 person, then maybe 2, depth, volume. Step 6, repeat across spaces. Belonging is rarely one place that fulfills everything. Instead, 1 place for thinking, 1 for lightness, 1 for creativity, distributed belonging system. Step 7, watch for the trap. If you start over-explaining yourself, shrinking, performing pause and ask, am I trying to belong or forcing it? Bonus, if nothing exists yet, then you do what you're already doing. Flow, you become the environment. Start small, a stream, a comment space, a tiny group. Even 1 consistent signal of difference is welcome, will attract the right people over time. Final anchor, slow breath. I don't need to fit everywhere. I only need a few places where I don't shrink. Episode close. Belonging is not finding where you fit perfectly. It is learning where you can exist fully and choosing that again and again. Field closed. Clean alignment.
Yeah, exactly. So then I asked a question because it kind of fits the conversation today, in a way, in a lot of ways. And it's something that I see out there constantly, so used. So I just wanted to remind you all in this episode about it. What is the etymology of idiot?
Great question. This one is actually fascinating. Origin of idiot. The word idiot comes from ancient Greek, idiotes. Original meaning, very different from today. In ancient Greece, an idiots meant a private individual, someone not involved in public life, politics, civic duties. So basically, not a public speaker, not a politician, not engaged in shared decision making, just a regular person, focused on their own affairs, subtle cultural layer. In Greek society, participating in public life was important. So over time, idiotes carried a tone like someone who keeps to themselves, someone without public knowledge or civic skill. Evolution over time. As the word moved through Latin and into European languages, Greek, private person, Latin, uneducated, unskilled person, Middle French, English, ignorant person, eventually shifting to stupid person. Modern meaning, clean translation, architect style. Original meaning, person outside shared systems. Modern meaning, person lacking intelligence, fun twist. Originally, calling someone an idiot was closer to saying, you're not participating in the collective system. Not, you're dumb. If you want, we can break down a few more words like this. Some of them have wild shifts in meaning over time.
They certainly do. And, it's just fun to look at all this stuff because I think a lot of misunderstanding can be, dealt with by doing this. When words are weaponized, like in this case, idiot was weaponized over time, we can all agree, right? In the beginning, it wasn't an offense. Now it is considered an offense. But the real meaning of a word comes from the origin of the word. The etymology is what really makes the word meaning. So, just because everybody accepts the weaponized meaning, it doesn't mean we all have to, and I don't. I'm part of this world, and I am telling you no, because words cannot hurt us when we don't weaponize them. So stop doing it. It's a personal choice everybody can make to actually look at all of this stuff that is available for anyone who has even a cell phone and a browser. And most people do. So you can all do this research if you don't have your own dictionaries as well. We used those before, took a lot longer. But we still have those because it's fun to have those too. Just to double check. Mistakes happen. It's not always nefarious. It's just it happens. Everybody makes mistakes. That's why we always check if we can. But it's a choice we can all take and make, however you want to say it. I get trapped between Italian and English and trying to figure out this life. Well, everything seems to be a barrier. Sometimes, we feel like no matter what we do, nothing really comes that is not the case necessarily. Got it? Don't let the narratives pull you down. Go back to patterns when you can't make your way out of something. And trust your own intuition after you ground because then it's working. Otherwise, it's more fear-based. From my point of view, everything I say is only my point of view. I'm not giving you medical advice, therapy, or anything like that. Claiming truth is just my own point of view. And it's always up for revision when I learn something and I verify it, if I can. I don't usually blindly trust secondhand information. I don't really care where it comes from. I always like to try and do my due diligence. It's not always easy. And sometimes, the jury is out for a long time because if we don't know, we don't know. I'm fine with that. I'd rather say I don't know than I know. But regardless, it's not about being perfect. It's about being perfectly imperfect, which is what being a human being is truly about. So enjoy your imperfect selves, and we'll see you next time, hopefully. Thanks for hanging out. Ciao, ciao. Alright, and those of you who are here, I wanted to try the looper now, see how that works. Looping this and looping the other, come on. Loop, 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 loop. Smile, 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 loop, loop, smile, 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 loop, loop, smile, smile, loop, loop, smile, loop, smile, smile. I don't know why. Loop, loop, hi, loop, loop, hi, loop, loop, hi, loop, loop, hi, dum, bum, dum, bum, dum, 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 loop, loop, round, round, loop, loop, round, 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 loop, 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 kindness, 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 loop. Alright. Alright. I can live with that. I can live with that. Now, I put the volume at a lower state. I don't know if it's good or not. I'm just testing it. So, I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoy this funny little quirky and thing that is usually too loud, so I'm trying to gauge that. And I'm playing with something I didn't really test much before, so I'm doing a lot of testing right now just to see what is the truth behind. Alright, see you next time. Having the sun out is really nice.